Today we have another tier list for you, and this one is going to be indie games, specifically horror platform types. Now, I have played a lot of these, going back quite a bunch of years, and there are some on some systems there that I forgot their names. So the ones that I did remember, I've put up here. I had to actually go through my Xbox download history for finding a couple of these. So okay, this is kind of like a tier list, but also a quick review on the game, because otherwise I'd have to do like a whole review on every one of these games, and um, don't really want to do that. Um, but let's go ahead. Starting with the cave. Now, the cave is an interesting one. It's got a little bit of horror elements, but essentially what it is you choose three characters out of seven in the beginning, and there's a narrator, which is quite humorous. In fact, the humor in this game is quite amusing. Even playing through it a bunch of times, it's just quirky. So you have the hillbilly, the scientist, the explorer, the knight, the twins. Uh, I'm missing one or two. But anyway, you have a selection of those. You pick three of them from the beginning of the game. And you go through like these areas that you kind of have to solve these like puzzles there. Each character has their own kind of section that defines them, but overall, the other sections are pretty much you're going to be playing the same areas. Um, it is a nice mix up, going you can go through the with all the characters and kind of explore their levels, bringing kind of replayability up there pretty well. Um, you don't fight anything. There are, I guess you could call them sub bosses, sub boss types, but you don't actually fight or nothing. The puzzles are generally easy to figure out. There are some that can be a little bit like you have to use your brain, which is cool. The animation is really fun. The narration is really kooky. Some of the puzzles are actually quite humorous in their end results. So with the cave, I'm going to put that in spooky super. I really like it. I replay it over and over again from time to time. I already know, like, the puzzles and everything, but I kind of do it like once a year so that the puzzles I kind of have to remember kind of how they go and everything just to keep it fresh. But anyway, spooky super number one. A for effort is not quite there, but good. One and done is pretty much as it says. You finish the game, that's it. Uh, Idea but no punchline is pretty much like it's a really cool idea, but just doesn't fall through. And then Doomed is trash. All right, Shadow World Adventure. Um, yeah, I had to put it in Doomed. It had elements of like Mario Brothers parts. You have to collect stuff. Uh, Graphics were kind of trying to go retro, but I honestly didn't really finish it because it was just like there wasn't anything unique about it. Ooh, I gotta add one. I gotta add one. I just thought of Typo Man. I just thought of one I forgot. So let's put that in there. How could I forget Typo Man? Let's add that. There we go. All right, getting back to Shadow World here. So yeah, it didn't have anything that it brought to the table that could really keep me playing it. It was pretty much like I can't remember the name of it. It's not on this list though, but it was like you have to collect these coins, and you're kind of like this ball, and I mean, parts of it were neat where you could like inflate yourself and float and stuff like that. But Shadow World Adventure was just boring and really didn't bring anything to the table to really grant it any other rating than Doomed. So this one's hard to pronounce. Matt Huian. I'm butchering the name. Putting it in A for effort. So what this is you play like this robot, I guess, and it's got the this animation style. Trying to think now of the type of game. Damn it, of course, when I have to think of a name, I can't think of it. But it's got its unique style of animation to it, and the puzzles are using kind of like your body, and there's parts that use your mind going through like these. It's very linear. I guess I could say that you're going from one point to another, and you're trying to solve basically the room of the puzzle or the area of the puzzle as you go along. Um, I like it a lot. It's very unique, and it reminds me of one game that's not on here, Monochrome, I think it's called. The only reason that I didn't put it on here is because I never finished it and I never got back to it. Oh my god, I'm thinking of like others too. Braid. Why am I thinking of it now when I like um thinking of these now when I didn't before? Man, man. Uh, was that one? I just thought of another one. And of course, it goes away. It goes in one ear, when one puts side of the mind, and out the other. See, these are these Xbox games that I played in the past where they were like platformers. I'm sure it'll come to me. If not, oh well. It's that braid. Where are we here? There we go. Okay. Um, yeah, Monochrome. I think it's called Monochrome. I didn't add there because I didn't finish it. It's basically where you play like two brothers and you have to like puzzle your way through. So that's why it's not on here. But whatever the hell this name is, that game's cool. I like the style of it. I like the puzzles. They're very summer. It took me a bit to figure out, but really cool. Um, okay. Inside, I play that at least once a year. It's Play Dead, the company's name, and you play like a kid. And I will actually be posting a video of me playing through that game. Um, I did Limbo recently, which is on here. Um, I play that once a year, but I'll get to that game. But and inside, you play a kid that's in an area where they're not supposed to be, and you gotta. It's a horror platform where you pretty much like have to go through these areas and make your way to the ending, which, by the way, has one of the weirdest endings in these type of games that I've ever seen. It still sticks with me. You'll see it when I do the video of playing it. But I like a lot of the different areas it has. Like it's creepy, the atmosphere. Um, that was my phone buzzing. Really cool, and I hope like Play Dead is only mentioned about a third game that they're developing, but we haven't seen anything other than a screenshot from it for the last bunch of years. So I don't know where they're at on that. But inside is really cool. The atmosphere is really cool. The and for some reason, Play Dead likes using kids as the protagonist going up against these very creepy areas and stuff like that. So yeah, inside's really cool. Little Nightmares. Mm, A for effort. Really cool game, atmospheric, especially this first one. Um, the creepy design of when you come up against these like very odd kind of, I guess I call them bosses, whatever. Um, Sweet Carol. It's the other one. That was the one I just played too. Might as well throw that on here. I know it's a demo, but I showed you a demo anyway. But let's throw. Whoops. Uh, yeah, when they do that. There we go. Okay. Thinking of these games like now while I'm doing my video. It's not funny. Uh, Gonna add a caveat to Sweet Carol there. Where the hell is it? Okay. Yeah, Little Nightmares. The reason that it's second place, not first, is because um, I find that some parts are annoying, um, because of a little bit of the clunkiness of the controls. It doesn't break the game or ruin the game for me by any means, but it's just something to point out. But atmospheric wise is really good. The creepy kind of, it's along the same lines as Inside a Limbo with like a weird storyline to follow. I hate when my screen goes dark. Um, but yeah, it's gonna end up at second spot there. Dark. That's a tough one. I'm gonna put it in one and done with an asterisk beside it. It is a game that I would go back to try and play again with the puzzles and everything. It's very unique too because it kind of reminds me a lot of a Tim Burton Beetlejuice sort of deal. But just the way the main character's dressed, the style of the animation. So essentially, you're like this kid that if I remember, it's been a while since I played it, but you wake up in like different areas. You got to figure out like puzzles, and you got to like it's cool because you use like foreground background transitions. Um, and like for instance, you're walking upside down and kind of trying to figure out how to get it right side up and stuff like that. It's a very unique kind of horror platform game. Um, but having said that, it's kind of like one of those ones where like it can be a one and done where you play it once and there's not really a reason to go back. It just doesn't have that, for me anyway, personally, it doesn't have that gravitational pull that like the cave and inside some of the top games there that I would go back and redo and retry. But it is one that like I would go back later in a long time to try and play again because it's a very unique kind of game. So now, Stealth Bastard or Stealth, depending on I think it's called just Stealth in America, but Stealth Bastard is not really a horror game per se. It is a puzzle game. It is a stealth game. Um, I'm gonna put it up here. A for effort. So Stealth, you play like this goggled dude, and each level is a its own kind of puzzle. You got to figure out how to get through the area. Um, but you have to be using your stealth, like you have to stay out of the light. You can't let enemies see you because you can't fight them. You got to figure out, how to block light out using objects. It's really cool. Puzzles can be a little challenging. You do have to use your brain in that one, in this one, um, and it sort of has a story, but not really. The second game in the series, which I will talk about, has a little more story than the first one, but the horror elements, I guess, are like robots, and I wish it would stop glowing dark. My damn camera. Um, yeah, I guess you could look at horror elements through that. So, Stealth Bastard is really cool. I do go back and play it once in a while. Um, all these games that I've talked about, I have beaten. So, but yeah, Stella. I like Stella. Stella's cool. Stella does have some difficult parts, but overall, I think it's a very unique game. So you're like it's kind of weird. It's like you're a female robot, I think, and you got to go through these areas, like all these games, platforming, figuring out how to get by these areas. But like as the game goes on, it's so cool. Like the design reminds me a lot of Out of This World, which I should have put on here, and I'm going to. Getting these damn games, man. I mean, that one's really old. Uh, that one's really old, but why not? I gotta put it on here anyway. Um, yeah. And I gotta put in flashback as well. All right, so let me add those. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Stella's really cool. I like it a lot. Unique style of game. Um, Story wise, like all these games are very strange and weird. I mean, these games are not really heavily story driven. Um, but yeah, it's top there. I like to play that once a year as well. The Missing. That's going to be the first one in the idea but no punchline. Weird game. Very weird game. So like in order to solve puzzles in this one, you're playing like a girl and I can't remember or there's like I guess animated cutscenes, I think, if I remember. It's been a long time since I played it. You have to injure yourself to solve these puzzles. As weird as that sounds, you have to be fucked up pretty much to solve some of these puzzles. Um, a very strange, odd game. A lot of the puzzles make no sense to me. Like you solve them, but they make no sense in the grand scheme of things. It's just not a game that I would go back to be honest. The only reason it's not in Doomed is because I like the kind of weird idea of having to have your character all messed up to solve these puzzles. It's a very different and unique style of play that's not in any of these other games. But ultimately, it's just like it reaches a point where it's like, okay, let's go. These puzzles are ridiculous to that level. So, Stealth 2, Stealth Bastard 2, uh, is the same as Stealth 1, except this one here in the second game, you pretty much like have this large map that you have to find these rooms to beat. It's still the same mechanics, like you gotta stay out of the shadows and you gotta solve each like room and stuff. But it's kind of like it's weird to say, it's kind of like an almost like an open world-ish type of map where, like I said, you gotta find the rooms and open up areas and stuff. It's kind of interesting to be different from the first one, which is cool. And this one, like I mentioned, does have a little bit more of a story than the first one. There's like cutscenes, but yeah. Um, what I like about the stealth games is that they have different kind of suits you can pick up that do different kind of things as you unlock them through the game. In stealth too, you actually have to find them. Like there are secret areas and stuff that you have to find these like suits that can help you out, rather than in the first game where you unlock them doing rooms and ranking, getting high rankings and stuff. But yeah. Planet Alpha. Mm, one and done for me. It's colorful, it's interesting, but it's not a game that other than I would go back and play Dark over this. Just because I just I don't know. It was a colorful game, but that's only like the only thing that really kind of popped out for me. Parts of it are interesting, the puzzle elements, but it felt more like a running simulator for most of the game. It's like, okay, you're going here, you jump this, you do that. There's not much more to say about that. Pinstripe goes into idea, but no punchline. Not as weird as the missing in this category, but it just, for me, got boring after a while. It does have interesting ideas, but ultimately it's like, okay, when's this game going to end? It is unfortunately one game that I did not finish because I got bored. So yeah, that would be a rare case where I did not finish. Um, the missing, I did finish, but it was like once, frustratingly. Yeah, but Pinstripe, that was one I did not finish because I got really bored with it. Um, I can't even tell you like the plot. It's been a couple of years since I played it. So, Max the Curse of Brotherhood. I like the animation style, the interesting story of how one brother's trying to rescue his brother. Cool. That reminded me, it's just like a really neat animated um, platformer. It's got a little bit of puzzle elements in there, but ultimately it's just like jumping and avoiding creatures and stuff more than anything else I found. Um, so I still would rather go back and play Dark out of these three in this category. Max, if I get in the mood, sure, I'll throw it on to revisit it, but it ultimately is just, I'd rather have more puzzle and more horror to my platforming playthrough than Max has to offer for me, unfortunately. I mean, there are interesting horror elements, sure, in Max, but not enough for me. Deadlight is doomed. I hated the controls in that game. Frustrating as hell. I like the idea of it where like you're this guy that's in the zombie apocalypse and you got to go through these areas avoiding zombies and trying to figure out how to get through from section to section. But like at the time when I was playing it, the game crashed a lot. I played it later on when it was like fixed with patches, but like still the controls are just not worth the game. Um, I struggled to get through it and finish it. It was just one of those things. I like the cinematics. I like how there's a bit of the Walking Dead feel in it. There are tension moments, but again, the controls is what crashes this game for me and brings it down. Um, and I died a lot of times because of the controls. So not a fan of it. I don't want to revisit it because it's too much of a frustration of a game to get through. And if the controls were a little better there, it'd probably be up a couple of slots. But yeah, that's where it's going to land for me. Little Nightmares 2, I'm putting in one and done. I don't like the fact that they added combat in this second game. Um, for me, a really good platforming horror game is like the ones above it, where it's like combat is non-existent pretty much. Where you're like Little Nightmares 1, at least there you're having you're running away from things. You got to hide from things and stuff like that. You're not going into a confrontation with things. And I hated the controls with the combat where you have to use like what is it your pod or wrench or whatever you have. You got to hit these kids in the one part there as an example in the school, and you miss, and then they get all over you, and then you got to restart the whole scene all over. It's such a frustrating game, and I beat it, but like I was not happy with the end result. I thought that a lot of the elements from the first game were better. Horror wise, and that's kind of why I'm resistant to Little Nightmares 3 and purchasing that game because it looks like you got your AI buddy, or if you're playing with local, whatever. But that's the thing, because when I played Reanimal, the demo, it was fantastic the way they incorporated your buddy, because your buddy actually helped you and stuff, and there were like elements in there. So that kind of has me still held back by purchasing Little Nightmares 3 because I was so disappointed with the second game. Um, Unfortunately, there are elements of Little Nightmares 2 that are cool, like especially the teacher and their head, and yeah, like creepy creature. I guess you call them creatures. They're there, but Little Nightmares 2 with the non-combat and the hiding and all that and the noises is so much better of a game. So Little Nightmares 2 goes in the one and done for me. Limbo, which I just put up a gameplay video of. It took me an hour and 40 whatever minutes to beat. My record's 29 minutes. Unfortunately, I didn't record it at the time because I was playing on Xbox. I got lucky there because I went through the entire game and I think I died like once, maybe twice. But what held me back with my playthrough on here is like certain puzzles there, and then I died a lot, so that didn't help things. But still, that aside, I do play this game once a year. I really love it. Once again, this is Playdead's first game, and again, you're a kid in this purgatory sort of area, and you got to figure your way through these areas with the puzzles. And the puzzles aren't too bad. There's two or three that are pain in the ass. The worst one I hate is that section where you have like the ladder with the what do you call them, with the wheels. I'll just call it that. And you gotta like it goes back and forth, and you have to like um, get it to move like this, go over and hit the switch as it raises up, and the thing's moving back and forth, and you got to jump on the ladder, and you hope that apparatus goes over so you could jump onto the platform to jump on the switch to land on the train cart. That section there is I hate that kind of puzzle there because it's such timing that you need to figure out the swaying of when you sway that thing and where. Pain in the ass. The other puzzle I don't like too is the one where there's the two mechanical grips with the two boxes there, and then they got the saw on the one end, and then there's the two buttons that you press to unleash the boxes, right? So you have to time it where you release the one, drops, and you have to push it under so that the other box drops onto it, and then you can jump up those boxes, jump on the platform, and avoid getting hit by the saw. My first playthrough, I spent an hour on that fucking thing trying to figure out like the timing of like the stupid boxes. That puzzle too is annoying. Not as annoying as the ladder train part, but yeah, there's a couple of puzzles in there that drive me nuts. But that aside, I still play the game once a year. Just because I love the atmosphere. I love the the interesting puzzles in it. And there are timing puzzles in there, certainly, and ones inside. There are a few in the inside, but not as much as I remember in Limbo. So, yeah. All right, Creeks. One and done. Creeks has an interesting kind of animation. It's much like the match, however the hell you say that name. I cannot pronounce it. Match room. It's kind of along the same lines of that sort of animation. And in here, you play like a guy that kind of goes into this portal, I guess, and ends up in this world where you gotta get by these areas with like these different sort of puzzle like areas there. And it is a frustrating game with some of the puzzles, especially playing through the first time and figuring things out. Um, it's just unfortunate that it's a one and done. Once you've beaten it, it's not a game that I go back and retry or replay. I'd still, out of all these, I'd go back and replay Dark. I don't know. It's weird. Creeks is interesting though, and I do actually recommend playing it. Like I recommend playing all these games. Like even though I have these all ranked in sort of areas, so like even the missing or that like go play these games. Like you know, see what your opinions are. Like don't take my word for it because I recommend all these games. Just even though I rank them different, but like Creeks is just an interesting game. It's just unfortunately for me, it's not a returning game for me. Juggler's Tale is going right at the top. I love that game. You're a puppet and you're trying to break free of your strings and you have to go through these areas of figuring things out. Love the animation style. The story is really cool and touching. In fact, probably out of all of these, I think like its story is very, I don't know, heartwarming, I suppose. It's like really cool. Love the ending. It's one of my favorite kind of endings from all these platformer type of games. Fantastic game. I recommend it. Um, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Typo Man, I like the idea of so your words, you're made of letters, and you gotta all the puzzles are pretty much like using words to solve the puzzle, which is very unique. However, it's just one of those games that it isn't perfect. There's some frustrating parts in there. Um, there. are two games that aren't on this list there, and for the life of me, I can't remember them. Toby the Sacred Mine, I think, and the hell was the other one? Uh, Damn it, it's right there. But those games I did not finish, and they were frustrating, and that's why they're not on here. But Type of Man's kind of like those where it's like there's too much frustration in some of the controls and some of the puzzles there is that just doesn't merit a replay. Um, it's not in one and done because Type of Man I found is just it's it's weird and some of the things just don't make sense for me and it's kind of like it's boring after a while, which is unfortunately with the Pinstripe and the Missing. Again, I recommend all of you try these games out because you may have a different opinion of mine, but because Type of Man has a unique way of using words and letters for its style of gameplay and its artwork, the way the gritty kind of atmosphere is horror like and stuff. So is really good for that. But for me, Type of Man, I like the idea of it. Just it doesn't have enough for me to give it another go. Braid is going into A for effort. So Braid, you're a little guy, and it's very unique in its art style and its music. Okay, and you rewind time in it and to solve these like areas and man, I have not played it in a long time. Makes me want to go back and play it. It's a challenging game because you have to like rewind and time jumps and stuff like that. Like, for instance, there's one area, one section where you have to like these enemies are coming out. I think it's a pipe or whatever, and you have to like time your guy to jump on the one guy and then go over to the other side. Things like that. Um, Very unique game, very stylistic, I guess. Very cool. The only reason that it's not up one spot in Spooky Super is the challenge can be a bitch, especially if you have not played it before. Just a little hair. But otherwise, it's a really cool game, really cool idea. I like it a lot. So, Sweet Caroline. Um, I'm gonna put that in one and done. I've only played like I only have the one video up there, but I did complete it. Um, I love the animation style. The story is very interesting. It's more of a point and click kind of game, sort of there with platform elements. I love the fact you can change into different shapes, and you utilize that throughout the game. Um, but it's a game I feel that like is one of those where I finished it and I'm good with it. Um, it doesn't have replayability for me. And again, Dark out of all these would be one that I maybe go back and replay out of all these. It just didn't have a replayability feel for me um, after I was all done. But I love the sort of animated movie-ish style that it does bring. That's so cool and so unique in that game. So getting into our final two ones, which is like very old, Out of This World, going at the top. So Out of This World, I played on Super Nintendo, and I did play it on PC at one point for the, I guess, arcade version. But it's really neat, and the controls at this day and age will be a little bit tight. but you were essentially a guy that's sucked into another realm after a freak storm, and you basically have to figure your way through the entire game. You get eventually you pick up like a gun, and you have like a only so much that you can use it because you have to charge it at certain points. But um, it is a challenging game. There's lots of like parts where you have to like run and jump, and for example, there's like this one section where you have to shoot this like part that's under like this gallon of water or whatever. Shoot that part out, the water comes rushing in, you gotta haul your ass, basically over these like jump parts. That one always drove me nuts, that part. And what's cool about it is there's cinematic deaths. So cinematic, it's kind of like Dragon's Lair, I guess you could throw in there, where it's like your character dies, and it's like a cinematic of how your character gets killed. There's like these things on the ceiling and on the floor that chomp you. There's like these tentacles in the one part that come up and can grab you. Like it's got some really neat horror like elements there. The ending is very suspenseful. Um, the story is actually really interesting. Like there's not much dialogue in it, if at all. As you play through and you get like these sequences, it's very, very cool. Very sci-fi monster like. It's really neat. If you have a chance to play this, check it out. It's pretty cool. Finally, we have Flashback. That one for me is going to be a one and done. It is a unique platformer. It is done, I believe, by the same people that did Out of This World. So it's got that sort of same sort of animated elements. Um, but I just like Abe's Odyssey. I suppose I should have thrown those two games on there, Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus. But I'm tired and I don't feel like it. Um, it's like those games where it's like puzzles are cool, the elements of it are cool. It's just it doesn't have the pull to replay it after. But I do recommend it. I do recommend it. If Abe's Odyssey and Abe's Exodus were on here, they'd be in the same category. Where it's like the puzzles are very interesting, and those, and you're an alien, and you have these like sort of mind control elements and stuff. But ultimately, it's just like, okay, I'm good. Which I finished those games as well. So there you have it. There are probably other games that I totally, forgot about that I played in the past, but those are the ones that I do remember that I do remember beating, except for Pine Stripe. But yeah, I do recommend trying all these out, seeing what your thoughts are. Give me your thoughts in the comments of what are your favorite, platformer horror kind of games in the vein of all these. I know stealth really doesn't. They're not really horror like, but I threw them in here anyway because they were like platformer sort of deals. But they'll probably maybe end up back again on a stealth list of games. I don't know. It's not enough of them, I don't think, that I could make like a whole entire tier list star right now. But anyway, that's tier list for these platformer horror games. Give a like and a thumbs up. Let me know again in the comments of what your favorites are, and we'll catch you in the next video.